We'd like to learn together in this week's Parshat of Vayeishev a very interesting medrash that's not even found in Rashi. It's a medrash that's brought down a number of Mefarshim and found in the 38th chapter of the Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer. The medrash is based on the pasuk which describes the sale of the brothers of Yosef HaTzadik. We take a look in the first source, the top source, pasuk Parshat. The Midianite men, traders, passed by. They drew Yosef up and lifted him out of the pit and sold Yosef to the Ishmaelites for 20 pieces of silver. Then they brought Yosef to Egypt. And Reuben returned to the pit and he sees that Yosef is gone. On this exchange of Yosef for 20 pieces of silver, the Medrash says, what did they do with this 20 pieces of silver? And we'll see that there are different versions of the Medrash we'll speak about soon in Mirz Hashem. So, Kol echad ve'echad natal shtei ksafim liknot min alayim b'ragleihem. So says the Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer that each brother took, 10 brothers, took 2 silver coins to buy shoes for their feet. And it's based on a pasuk in Amos, Perak Beis, Haftarah for Parshat Vayeishev, Al Michram Ba'Kesav Sadiq, taking the pasuk out of contextual context, and on the sale, the Klal Yisrael are guilty, the Shosha Pishei Yisrael V'Arba'a Lo Shivenu, Al Michram Ba'Kesav Sadiq, on the sale of the tzaddik for money, and the tzaddik is a relating to Yosef HaTzadik, who's given that description, Ve'evyon Ba'avur Na'alayim, and a poor person for shoes. So the Medrash learns that this is a reference that Yosef HaTzadik, what did they do with the money? Na'alayim, Ve'evyon Ba'avur Na'alayim, they purchased shoes. And this helps us explain underneath the Pirkei Rabbi Eliezer a piece from the art scroll Yom Kippur Machzor, and that very famous piyut of Eila Eskara, which is about the 10 martyrs that were killed over a period of time, where the Roman ruler at that time gathered together the 10 great scholars and asked them a halachic question: if somebody kidnaps their brother and sells them as a slave, what's the law? Right, Mochumah, they're deserving of death, and so too these brothers haven't been punished, and you are as great, or have never been as great as you, so you should bear their responsibility. In that selection, it notes there, he became arrogant against the great sages and ordered that his palace be filled with shoes. What's the significance of filling his palace with shoes? What's the connection? So again, understanding is based on this medrash. He filled the palace with shoes as a reminder of what was Yosef HaTzadik sold for. He was sold for shoes. It's interesting just to note, parenthetically, there's a medrash that says that because the brothers sold Rachel's firstborn for 20 silver dinarim, on the left-hand side the article stone, which is equal to 5 shkalim, we redeem our firstborn sons for that amount as an atonement for the misdeed of our ancestors. So we find another idea of this concept of the sale, that it was for each brother throughout the generations. We are responsible not only as Saragei Malchut, but every time we do Pidyon Haben, it's because we need to redeem ourselves, so to speak, from the sin of selling the firstborn child of Yaakov Avinu, of selling Yosef, and the specific amount, because that's how much he was sold for. Leaving that second medrash aside, we'll come back to Mirz Hashem a bit later. We need to ask ourselves one basic question today. What is the significance in the fact that the brothers sold Yosef HaTzadik for shoes? If the medrash is teaching us this, and it's based on a pasuk in Amos, it can't be accidental. There has to be some lesson we learn, some philosophical idea that we can derive from this medrash, and that's our challenge, to be able to take a piece of Chazal, be able to see how we can relate it to our lives, and how we can be able to plummet the depth to be able to see deeper and different insights. And that's why, in retrospect, I really felt that we should rename the shir, which I may do, instead of solid footing, to the soul of the soul. And I think you can figure out how to, the 2 spellings of soul. one approach of why shoes, and just to give us a taste, because the Mefarshim do mention it before I get to the 3 levels in Mirz Hashem I want to deal with today, is Rabbi Eliyahu Kitov in source number 3, where he notes why did they sell them for a pair of shoes. The asterisk in 3, V'lama na'alayim davka, Ramzula hemina shamayim, it was as if hinting from heaven that you think you sold Yosef as a slave and now that's the end of the story. No, that you are going to be following after him. You too are going to be going into exile, and you're going to need a good pair of walking shoes to walk right behind him. So it's almost like foreshadowing why shoes, because they are going to need shoes to be able, so to speak, to walk in his footsteps, that they too are going down to Egypt to be sold ultimately there as slaves. Having said that, let's take a look at our first approach. The first approach is based on the Lev Shalom, Rav Shalom Shvadron, the Maggid of Yerushalayim. And what I'd like to spend a number of minutes on this approach, because I think it gives us a glimpse into not only the idea of the shoes, but into the whole sale of Mechiras Yosef, to